I Want to Jump Like Dee Dee, with me, Giles Sibbald, is the music podcast that does music a bit differently. I'm talking to some incredible musicians, DJs and producers about how they use an experimental mindset to fuel their own creativity, pursue new challenges, overcome fears, bounce back from mistakes. So I just want to start by talking a bit about challenge. Not like University Challenge or It's a Knockout or anything. Actually, does anybody still remember It's a Knockout? I'm just showing my age. But challenge as in challenging anything that represents the status quo. I think one of the most important attributes that we need today, I mean, well, we've always needed it, but I think now more than ever, is the desire to challenge and the ability to do it in a meaningful and constructive way. And in the same way, we need to be able to handle it when we ourselves are challenged. I'm not too sure that we're doing too good a job on any of these fronts, to be honest with you. My guest today is living a life and making music with a new vision, looking at new influences, new collaborations, new ways of doing things. And I think she's challenged the way that kind of society behaves, both as individuals and also as groups, and also that the way that it has a tendency to sort of institutionalize itself the longer it exists. Rules manifesting themselves as judgment on the way that we live our life, how we make music, what we sing about, how we sing it, basically closed minds. And the way that self-interest, quite honestly, always seems to rise to the top. And in many ways, she makes me think of Chumbawamba. And it's not just the accent and what they stood for. And God, I mean, they're a band I miss so much. If you haven't heard her latest single, which is called Girl in a Mirror, then please check it out. It's a real proper banger. So Louise Distras, welcome to the show. And thanks so much for coming on. It's a real honor to have you on.
Hey up.
How are you doing?
Hey up. I am so bloody excited to be on your podcast, Giles, but since lockdown, I have had so much Botox that it's hard for you or anybody else to tell what I'm thinking nowadays. I'm actually 87 years old, but I wear a lot of anti-aging makeup, so I look like a fetus.
I think I'm sort of feeling about 87 years old myself as well, to be honest with you.
No.
I'm not sure what the cause of that is. Maybe let's just hold that one there,
Well, actually, I wanted to start off by telling everybody about my outfit, right? Because I'm
Go
from
on.
Wakefield. Yeah, right. I'm from Wakefield, and I wanted to pay tribute to the great women of West Yorkshire that came before me, right? And Jane McDonald's from Wakefield.
Yeah.
But I couldn't come as Jane McDonald because all my sequins are in dry cleaners. So I'm doing Kiki Dee instead. I thought we could do a little duet.
Do you know, that's one of my memories of my childhood, is like going to like these sort of extended sort of family weddings, and that Don't Go Breaking My Heart, the duet she did with Elton John.
I couldn't if I tried.
That's the one. Kiki Dee will be forever that song, I swear to God.
She's a legend.
Where's she from, actually?
She's from Bradford.
Is she? Bradford, right?
Yeah, and another one of my favorite women poets is from Bradford as well. She's called Jules Denby. Everyone should go check her out. She's amazing. She's amazing.
Wow. Well, there you go. There's the education. We don't need to do anymore. We've got the education done already. So I'm really not going to ask you about whether you're excited to be back making music, because we said we weren't going to do that. I mean, we should talk about the new music, because it's been, a long time, since you brought music out, and the new stuff that we've heard so far, I think, is like really sort of fantastic. But I'm really kind of like interested in, over the sort of past time, what have been your, kind of defining moments to bring you to now on the verge of, well, in the next sort of month or two, bringing out a new album?
I think, probably the biggest reason why the album took so long is because I put so much blood, sweat and tears into it that I'm now getting 8 mail from Greta Thunberg. She's declared it a biohazard. So it should come with a warning label, really. I mean, God, it's been an absolute clusterfuck, and I can say that on this podcast.
Yeah.
Do you watch Happy Valley?
No, I don't.
Oh, right. Happy Valley. It is the best thing on telly ever, except for Brookside, which is coming back.
Is
And to be
it?
honest, to be honest, I'm more excited about the return of Brookside than I am about my own album.
Oh,
But
brilliant. That's a fair
but
point, that.
but for anybody who watches Happy Valley, praise be, it's amazing. I now know how Catherine Kaywood feels in Happy Valley. Or for Americans who are watching, it's pretty much like how Francis Ford Coppola must have felt when he were making Apocalypse Now. So much so that I should have just called the album Apocalypse Now too. Because it's the kind of story I couldn't even make it up and nobody would believe me anyway. So I'll spare you all them boring details. But
Mm,
um, you know, I was lumbered with such a festering swamp of insanity that
mm,
I'm not gonna lie, it made me sick and it made me unable to talk and
mm.
release new music or just do much of anything at all. So, what are you gonna do? Life fucks us all. I mean, you know all about that because you're married now, aren't you? So but
Touche.
yeah. All right, here we go. It's War of
Here
the
we go.
Roses,
Yes,
everybody.
I know. Yeah, the gloves are off now.
And then, well, I'd be like getting you with me fancy bits of anyway. Right. Excuse me, I'm just getting over a cold. But yeah, like in terms of like, my history, my mindset and
Mm,
all that shit. I mean, if I had to sum it up, one of my best mates is a jazz musician, and he always said to me, if you ride on someone else's coattails, you end up smelling like their shit. And I
yeah.
thought that was really good advice for me to hear I was going to say when I were a young girl. I'm a young girl.
You are a young girl, yes.
When I was younger. Um, so I've always remembered my mate's advice, and I've always tried to just do my own thing. And I think
Mm,
that it's really good to be an individual and not have that herd mentality. And that's why I love your podcast, because I can come on here and I can just be myself and
yeah.
talk like how I talk, and I don't have to play a role. And that's something that's celebrated on here. So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
and
I think
and
that
like,
yeah, no, go on, go on.
well, we're just gonna go off on a big rant.
You should do. No, no, feel free. The rants are
Well,
totally welcome.
it's like it's weird, isn't it, when you're trying to like describe who you are and what it is that you
Yeah.
do, like, because you can't look at yourself from the outside. It's weird,
Mm,
like, so it's just kind of a struggle to put into terms that other people can understand, because I don't understand why I do what I
mm,
do. I just do it. I developed as a songwriter by just purely tapping into my own feelings. I've
mm,
always done it that way, and I don't know why. Don't really care why. If you want to get philosophical about it, you could call it a calling or a hunger that I was
yeah.
born with. So I don't question it too much. I don't really like that whole, like, I call it analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, really, who cares for what, why, where, when? It's about what we've got now.
The
You know what
here
I
and
mean?
now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I sometimes like get a bit. I suppose in a way a little bit. Yeah, I know what you mean about that sort of paralysis. I mean, I kind of I guess I've always been struggled a bit, like, because I've, like, on the one hand I like to be sort of analytical and understand the
Yeah,
whys and stuff like that, and I'm as I've got older, I'm sort of interested in why I do certain things, why I think a certain way,
yeah,
and I always like to
yeah.
sort of trace it right back to you know things that happened when I was a kid and stuff like that.
Mm,
And then, but
mm,
on the other hand, I like trusting my instinct, being sort of,
mm.
so I have a bit of like a, that sort of push and pull sometimes.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like, I think what I like about you, Giles, is that you've got a lot of emotional intelligence and intuition, and people who have those things tend to find that it kind of offends anybody who tries to like mess you around and tries to run games on you. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
And
mm,
like, and for me, just thinking about what you said, you know, the girl that I could have been died when I was 4 years old, but
yeah,
the woman that I am now and was
yeah,
always meant to be was born. And ultimately, nobody wants to hear about what happened to me, because it's upsetting and it's really ugly and painful,
mm,
but what some people don't understand is that the things that happen to us affect us all very differently. And
yeah,
some of us, we never stop crying, or like me, some women, we bury it under this armor, this very
Mm,
thick armor of I don't give a shit, you know, or we become mega ambitious. So
yeah.
that new single, Girl in the Mirror, that's pretty much where I'm at now. And it's about honoring the parts of myself that I've looked away from. And instead of pointing the finger and screaming, here's what's wrong with me, it's the world's fault, it's the world that's doing it to me. I'm now looking inwards and I'm saying, well, actually, the way that I see the world is because of the way that I look at myself. And if
Yeah.
I carry on carrying these bricks from the past,
Mm,
from when I was a kid, I'm going to end up building the same house, and I don't want to do that. So
mm,
this album and the single Girl in the Mirror is pretty much just me getting out my own way and learning to find the
mm,
beauty after the bruises, which I think is, well, I hope is something that we can all relate to after a
yeah.
really shitty past few years, you know,
Yeah.
because both in as individuals and collectively, we've been through a lot.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because on the one hand, there's a lot of people that want to, in a way, kind of forget what the last sort of 3 years, just basically
Yeah,
kind of like, forget about it. We talked about it. It was on the news all the time. I'm fucking done with it.
yeah,
But actually, I mean, like you said, I think you're totally right. The kind of the impact that it's had, both, kind of physically and mentally is,
yeah,
it's not to be kind of sniffed at.
yeah,
I think a lot of people are kind of carrying. I think back. It's funny. It's like I think back to, when it all kind of started, and it's just like I still thought like kind of horror, just like, oh my god,
yeah,
what's going on. Whereas I know
yeah,
other people saw it as like, well, this is not much change for me, and others were like, well, I kind of see this as like this is really, it's it's something different, and we're going to look for kind of opportunities in it. I guess
yeah,
everybody's different in the kind of outlook, and I think that last sort of 3 years really almost kind of really brought that out about kind of what people are about.
yeah, yeah. You never know what you're made of until it's time to,
Yeah, I mean, there's
yeah.
I mean, you now look at kind of like you say with Girl in the Mirror, kind of looking at yourself and looking kind of inward. Was there a kind of moment when it, or is it just like gradual that you thought that this kind of thinking came to you?
Um, it's a good question. I don't know how to answer it. I think that there's a lot of stuff that I haven't. There's a lot of parts of myself that I haven't been able to show up until now.
Mm,
And I think everything up to now has really been a pinprick of who I am and how I feel and how I see things and what I'm about and what I'm capable of. You know, so
yeah.
it's you know, so to me it's nothing new, but to other people it might be. I mean,
Mm.
whatever,
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, one thing that I think I've probably struggled with has been, well, in fact, it's not probably, it's definitely sort of struggled with, is this sort of like self belief, and you know, I always had this thing about well, what will people think of me, stuff like that. I always had that when I was a kid.
Mm, mm,
I think I was like an only child, and I always felt like the sort of the spotlight was on me, in
yeah,
a weird sort of way, and sort of consequently, I think my kind of self belief and confidence just kind of got knocked. But as I've got older, it's definitely changed. But there's still sort of parts of me that I'm like, I really want to show that to the world. And there's some things I
mm,
think, oh fuck it, I don't care, to be honest with you. I'm all right.
mm, mm. I mean, yeah, I know what you're saying. I think it's really important. Well, for me, it's really important for me to be able to master myself so that
Mm,
I'm not begging to be managed by other people who will
yeah.
ultimately exploit my vulnerabilities. You know, like virtue signaling musicians. uh, but that I think it's really. I mean, I think that part of having emotional intelligence is it's accepting. For me, this is just me, my experience.
Yeah.
But for me, it's accepting that my problems aren't any worse or any more special than anybody else's.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that my human experience, it's not unprecedented in the grand scheme of things and in the history of the world. You know, I'm just a human being struggling with my own pain and my own
Yeah.
heartbreak in life, just as we all are.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but I mean, but as a musician, uh, it's a bit strange because sometimes, you know, I get all kinds of messages off people, and it's like sometimes it feels like, you know, it's kind of like I'm not anyone's therapist or anyone's doctor or anyone's mum, you know, like I don't have the answers. So, I mean, I'm not going to appoint myself as some kind of ambassador and write my own Bible. You know what I mean?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because there's a bit of a fine line, I suppose, between you know, being empathetic and then, you know, kind of going further than that and almost like being the kind of martyr, and then, you know, just sort of being there to help everybody all the time is like, you know, is that what your life's for?
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. I'll be honest, and I'll just say that for me, that's a really napalm narcissistic role that I'm not going to trade my reality in for.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I really do think that to tell my friends and tell my fans to think that the way that I would think, I think it'd be a huge abuse of perceived power. I mean, who the fuck do I think I am? I'm a nobody. I mean, I'm not fighting for anything anymore except myself, and I'm the only cause that I'm interested in. And some people will see that as me being a villain or whatever. But yeah, they'd be right. Whatever, you know. I think we gotta. You can't pour from an empty cup. We've got to take care of ourselves first.
I think that's that's like a big lesson, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
And I've kind of, again, that's something I think where I've kind of come unstuck in the past, where you know, you don't look after yourself first. I always like had this thing, and I think I got this from my mum, like that you know, you look at yourself, others are just more important than yourself. But if you're just not looking after yourself, you can't really help others. It's getting out of that mindset.
No, you know, and ultimately life's too short. Life's too short. You have to find your joy and you've got to fight for it, because given half a chance, you know, someone will come along and they'll just suck out yourself from right under your nose, and they'll just piss all over you at every opportunity.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And you know, and that relationship, I mean, I suppose, you know, if you're talking about mental health, I think that it would be a dangerous and irresponsible position for me to put myself and my fans in. I mean, especially when you've got a young audience that's really vulnerable and traumatized.
Yeah.
You know, when you're dealing with trauma, I mean, I've seen both sides of the coin on that and all the social contagion that goes with it. You know, there's no one size fits all approach for enduring the human condition, and that's what it is. I don't believe in the term mental illness. It's the human condition.
Human condition,
you know, but we're not all the same. We're all individuals, and we've all got our own capacity for healing and growth.
Well, it does make you think, actually, doesn't it? You know, about you know, what you know, how society now, you know, over the years has kind of defined what normal should be, what it should look like.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not right. It's like with like I think a lot of words that are used and are not necessarily ones that, you know, are right. They're not kind of like fit for purpose now, because they've just like got this kind of like historical kind of context in which they were used, and now it's, you know, they just don't work. Like you say, you know, kind of, you know, sort of mental illness. You know, that what does that actually mean?
Yeah, I mean,
you know, it's sorry, so it's a bit of a hypothetical question. You know, it's
I mean, just sort of like what I take from that in terms of the thing about the words thing, though. I mean, that's something that I mean, I find that very difficult, to be honest. I mean, I'm sure there'll be people that will disagree with me, but you know, yeah, it is the human condition. But when we're talking about words in the English language, what I've noticed is that with every year that passes, more so since lockdown, right? There's less funding for the arts. There's less music venues, but we all know that. That's old news, right? But what's really upsetting for me is that we're also seeing the destruction of the English language, right? And when you erase language from human consciousness, you erase human consciousness, because we can only express ourselves in language. So what we have now, we've got these unconscious individuals with no ability to think for themselves. So, you know, the comedian Lenny Bruce, you know, he said, if you can't say fuck, you can't say fuck government. And This
Yeah.
is the purpose of the destruction of words and cancel culture. It's for us to accept and to live entirely unconsciously accepting what's been decided for us.
Yeah.
By, for example, these narky soup throwers are all dead behind the eyes, and they justify their actions by screaming, well, there's no music on a dead planet. But what they don't realize is that unconscious dead people can't express themselves or create any art anyway, and that's no way to live. If I can't be myself, what's the point? I'm not going to be one of them people that die at 27 and get buried at 72. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this whole thing around around culture and
Yeah,
kind of counterculture as well.
yeah,
Going back, kind of decades, when the I guess when the term kind of counterculture started, like the the
yeah,
sort of the hippie movement and stuff like that. That was really a time when people did think for themselves
yeah,
and could were prepared to, I'm not saying this is the right thing to, but prepared to kind of, go to jail for the,
yeah,
for their
yeah,
beliefs and what they kind of really stood for. And obviously, there's a big crossover with politics and things like that. But
yeah,
that ability to really kind of think for yourself seems to be, yeah, it's a dying art, isn't it? Almost.
yeah, yeah. But also, on the plus side, we're living in revolutionary times where artists don't need record labels now because they're
That's
so
very true.
archaic.
Yeah.
And art, it has real value, not in a capitalist propaganda sense of GDP and all that shit, but
Yeah.
it's something that enriches our lives and it gives our
Yeah.
lives meaning and it makes the world more bearable. And that's something that deserves to be rewarded and recognized and protected at all costs,
You're
no
right.
matter what ism we're living under. It doesn't deserve soup being thrown all over it.
Yeah.
I fully believe that when artists are making money from their work, but they're doing something rebellious and countercultural,
Yeah.
So I support the arts as much as I can. I love going to museums and plays and gigs because ultimately it's what keeps me inspired to keep doing what I do as well.
Yeah.
It inspires all of us and makes life worth living.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you? I mean, you're right. I mean, I think that the the way that kind of technology has allowed that
Yeah,
to kind of happen, to
yeah,
almost like in a way to dispense with the middle people,
yeah,
is a real kind of positive. And I think as with a lot of things, there are kind of nuances, aren't there,
mm,
in certain subjects, which I think would, like, I don't know, in our brains sometimes we sort of struggle with, because we like things either kind of like it's either black or white, it's this or
mm,
that, and that's not the case. The world is like so kind of complex now that
mm,
it's
mm,
not. There are many kind of nuances to things now, but I think you're
mm.
totally right about the ability to kind of like get your music out without a record label, and
Yeah,
to
yeah,
self-release, is a
yeah,
huge thing.
yeah. But then on the other hand, like, yeah, we're living in revolutionary times, but and we're using the internet, but also social media is the toilet of the
It's
internet. So
absolutely,
we're
yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and it's like it's that saying it. You can only judge a shithole by the turds that pass through it.
Yeah. It was like
So
this amazing thing, and then we just, like with lots of things, we fucked it up.
yeah, like social media is a horrendous place, but I also love memes as well. So
Yeah.
I'm stuck in this like meme philosophy land, and then and TikTok as well. It's weird, like, because I can't stand TikTok, but some of the stuff on it is so funny. And
Yeah, I know.
you know, but like, but it's weird, isn't it? Because TikTok's not, I mean, for comedians it's brilliant, but for me being a musician, I don't it don't doesn't sit right with me. Like, it feels more
Mm,
like a moment. Like,
mm,
TikTok's a moment, but great songs last forever. And before TikTok, we actually had this thing called songwriting and art, and the only
yeah,
data that mattered, it wasn't how many likes and if your thing's gone viral and how many clicks and this and that. It would just simply, did that singer and that song stop you in your tracks and
in your
make you
tracks.
actually feel something?
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
forget.
so
I forget who I was talking to. I was talking to somebody a few weeks ago. God, I should remember who it was. And but they were saying about, kind of like these, of the big mega artists, about how their stage sets, basically the stage designer they're designing it primarily now with like TikTok in mind.
Have it?
Yeah, when they design a stage set, it's like fucking hell. That's just mind-boggling.
Did I see somebody? I mean, probably like Machine Gun Kelly or something. What did I see like Machine Gun Kelly do a virtual reality gig?
Oh my god, really?
I mean,
I could well be right. Yeah,
the possibilities are endless.
they are, aren't they?
Do you remember that? Oh God, I'm going to show my age now, aren't I? But it's all right. I've had Botox, so you can't tell. But no, do you remember that music video that Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson did for Scream? And it's
Yes.
like
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
one of the best music videos
Yeah.
ever. I love that. Like when when people bring technology into it, and you've got all
Yeah.
this stuff that's like really new and cool. It's like the possibilities are endless, you know. But
Yeah.
then but then you see it like 5 years later, and it all looks really pixelated and crap because it moves so fast, doesn't it?
Yeah. It does. Yeah.
It can look dated really quick.
I also wonder like things like that when they sort of like come full circle and go back to like a very kind of analog way of doing things. I mean, I'm doing like a sort of graphic design, just like a short graphic design course,
Yeah,
like sort of
yeah,
4 weeks worth or something. And I just love doing the. I mean, I'm shit at it, but I like doing it. But I like doing it by hand. I just love doing the actual act of just drawing things by hand.
yeah,
Get me ruler out and get me pens
yeah,
and stuff like
yeah,
that. I just
yeah.
kind of get a kick from doing that. Man, it's probably because I'm old. Yeah, that's what I was growing. That's what I grew up with.
You see, like I love all this technology stuff, but I don't think I could ever bring like an ELO light show into what I do, just purely because I can't afford the electricity bill.
Well,
Like
yes,
I
yeah.
can't afford it. But yeah, no, I'm like kind of old fashioned and stuff. Like I'd really love to um do one of those straight to vinyl live recordings,
Oh yeah, yeah. That'd
like
be
Bob
amazing.
Dylan style. Yeah,
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 yeah.
I love that stuff. I absolutely love it. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
You
so
can't beat it. It's just, it's just that like I love the fact that I can just go play anywhere anytime and it's just me and my voice and my guitar. Like I don't need anything else, don't even need any electricity. It's not Blackpool
yeah.
illuminations. It's like,
So something like instinct, gut instinct. I mean, for
mm,
you, that is that like in your music and your life, is that a big part of how you live your life? Like a kind of
um
instinctive or relying on your gut.
well, yeah, yeah, it's like, me my songs are just they're just a reflection
They're from your
of me
heart.
and of my
Yeah,
environment.
yeah.
It's just a I'm just a product of my own environment and my own individual human experience.
Mm,
I mean, my songs are just a reflection of my life, so I don't really like to get all like what's the word, like intelligentsia about it.
yeah,
Because if I tried to explain it, I don't think anybody would totally get it anyway, and that's all right because I don't
yeah,
get it.
yeah.
But like I said, what I do know is that my ability to express myself relies on my freedom to feel my own emotions. Now,
Mm,
that's actually a very complicated thing in the world that we live in today. And it's something that I noticed and feel is under threat because we live in a world where artists are treated like terrorists and
mm,
the future rock and rollers are all being medicated on Prozac and Ritalin.
mm.
Um, and I get pissed off when people call me a protest singer because it just signals to me that they've probably got the creativity of a caravan site on a wet, windy Tuesday. um, and all this protest ideological stuff, I've just got to say, it's just not my bag. It never has been and it never will be. I mean, I have a very large bone to pick with the punk police, and
Mm,
I can't stand these cancellers and how they're killing music and art and culture and threatening and censoring anybody who disagrees with them.
mm, mm.
Which can put a bit of a block on us feeling his own feelings without worrying about how much shit we're going to get for it.
It's very true.
But we carry on regardless anyway. But I think it's having a really nasty knock-on effect. you know, as you know, like the grassroots venues are struggling so badly at
Yeah.
the moment, and I do think that this cancel culture lot are really kicking what's left of the indie music scene when it's already down, and it's really upsetting to watch. You know, but you know, that's another rant for another time. I could go on about it all day.
Have you like with, you know, kind of expressing your emotions in your songs over has that kind of you know, kind of, let's call it cancel culture, has that been at the back of your mind when you're writing stuff? And if it has, are you kind of, do you feel clear of that now?
What do you mean?
Well, if you know, in terms of sort of like being free to kind of express what you're kind of thinking, what your emotions are over, you know, over your kind of subject matter, do you feel kind of totally kind of liberated and free to be able to write
Well,
and express what you really what you feel in your heart?
well, it's much of what I see it in the way that I've always seen it, really, which it's just a case of, look, right, here's me, here's my songs, nothing more, nothing less. If you don't like it, fuck off. That's it. Everybody gets told that they're worthless and nobody gives you a chance. And there's always people that are going to put you down. And I come from outside of the music industry, you know, and I'm taking charge of my own ideas and my own labor and my own craft, and I'm coming to the table on my own terms. And you know, I think that's something to be proud of.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, do you think this culture is different? Is it worse now, or is it just has it always been like that? But it's just that we notice it more because of social media and kind of things like that. I don't know. I always sort of I struggle with it. I feel that it is, but I'm not sure if I'm right with it.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward for me. It's not rocket science. I just see them all as being absolute dickheads. That's it. You know, it's not really got anything to do with me. I'm just here living my life and carry on regardless. You know, whatever.
when you
For squares.
when you went over to the States to LA to record the album. In terms of the sort of the physical environment there, that you know, your kind of surroundings. I mean, how did that kind of make you feel? You know, was it a really amazing positive experience there?
Well, I mean, let me. It's like, I mean, I collaborated on this album with a lot of really, really talented people.
Yeah.
Over here and in the States. It's
Yeah.
kind of it's a bit of a Frankenstein album with a lot of colours and textures and moods and shape.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that all came about through mutual trust and respect and admiration for what we all bring to the table. And for me, it's all about energy. So that's why I went to Oakland to record the album. Well, I had the opportunity and the invitation to do so. And to work with these wonderful musicians and producers in a wonderful, beautiful studio. So it's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
And the Bay Area energy is something that you can, well, I can feel it. I mean, you know, you'll have to tell me when you listen to it, but it's something that you can feel in all the songs. You know, Oakland, it's the home of the Hells Angels, the Black Panther Party, the Civil Rights Movement. The studio is located on this place called Telegraph Avenue. Any fans of Rancid will have heard of Telegraph Avenue. And
Amazing.
it's a very important street in Oakland. Well, it actually runs all the way up to Berkeley, I believe. But it's very important because a lot of the stuff that happened in the 60s and 70s took place on that street. So it became a symbol of American counterculture. And then also like traditionally it's been a place where a lot of young people run away to. So, you know, I'm a teenage runaway. Well, I'm not a teenager now, even anyway. Not all the Botox in the world is gonna make me a teenager, but you know, as someone
You're an
who ran away,
ex-teenager runaway.
yeah. Yeah.
Sorry,
um,
actually, yeah, I should have said the Bay Area, not Los Angeles. It was the Bay Area.
no,
Yeah.
it's cool. But I just think that there was just an energy and a kind of
Yeah.
magnetizing energy that took me there. And when I stepped off a plane, I definitely had a sense of, well, this is exactly where I'm meant to be at this moment in time. And
Yeah. Yeah.
Hunter S. Thompson, he said that Oakland's the kind of place where you can strike sparks anywhere, and that was decades ago, and it's still like that. It's a really sparky, hot kind of place where it can kick off at any time. So
Mm.
for me, it was the perfect place for me to record the album, and it was a wonderful experience. It was absolutely amazing.
I do. I mean, I love stuff like that, and I really do
Yeah,
think that you know those sort of places that have that kind of history. And it's not. I mean, maybe it's a little bit nostalgic about it, but I don't think it is. But I love those sort of stories when you can just sort of feel the history and the kind of the energy that those places had, and still have, and how that can kind of like just influence you. I always had that, like, sort of like when I like for me, when I was kind of growing up, I was more into like the US punk. So the Ramones were,
yeah,
kind of my sort of first love, and as a result, I've always had this thing about New York.
yeah,
I just every time I go there, I just love it. I just love just being there. There's just kind of something about it. And I remember, like,
yeah,
on one of my first episodes, there was Jess Louise Dye, who's band High Waisted, and she
yeah,
moved to New York, I think 2010. She said New York became the fifth member of my band. Just such was the kind of the influence that
yeah,
the city had.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally get it. Totally get it.
Yeah, I
It's
think it's a
wonderful.
really really kind of interesting thing how that some people love the city, some people kind of prefer the peace and
Mm,
quiet and whatever. It's
mm.
being sort of adaptable to your circumstances and your environment, I suppose, can always sort of help as well.
Yeah, and it's always important to have a good cup of tea while you're at it.
You've got to do, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah. Never trust anybody who makes you a bad cup of tea. They are not your real friends.
Do you have lots of milk or a bit of milk?
I like my tea really milky, actually.
Do you?
Yeah, but I have proper Yorkshire tea though.
Actually,
Mm,
Yorkshire tea is my favourite. And
yeah.
as a Lancashire lad, but no, Yorkshire tea is definitely the best. There's something really about it.
Well, before lockdown, when I was on tour all the time, um, I always used to take a juicer machine, and we used to have fresh juice. Well, I took the juicer machine. We used to ask for loads of fruit on rider, and the next morning we'd juice it all, and we'd have it together, me and lads. It was a really nice little thing,
Yeah.
little ritual we had going on. It set us up for the day. But we also used to take our own tea bags, and if we didn't have any tea bags, there would be hell to pay in that van when we were traveling down the autobahn. Like, someone would be throwing a fit. Like, I want my fucking tea. But, well, you're gonna have to hang on, aren't you, until we get to service station.
I tell you, I bet there was a lot
Uh,
of I bet there was a lot of grumping going on, wasn't there? Grumping and moaning,
yeah,
I bet. So,
front
yeah.
lads. Yeah, yeah. We all need his own cups of tea. And then anyway, fast forward like 3 years later, and I'm watching Jane McDonald in Barbados or wherever she is today, and she's going, oh, you can't take the girl out of Yorkshire. Oh, I've got to bring my own tea bags, and I'm like, Jane, we've got so much in common. When can we go out and get pissed and drink Colleen Nolan under the table?
Someone after my own heart, somebody who brings their own tea bags away.
That's it's my biggest claim to fame is that my mum went to the same school as Jane McDonald.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I used to live near where Jane McDonald's mum lived, and I went on a little pilgrimage down to her mum's house.
Did you?
Yeah, totally normal, isn't it? Totally normal.
Staking her out
She's,
outside,
oh yeah,
just
yeah.
in
I,
case I get a glimpse.
I was filming and everything, and I'm like, can Jane come out to play? Is Jane coming out?
Louise, you need
She's
to come. You need to
great.
come back and finish this album. I just hang on a second. Just hang on a second. I've just got something
Jane,
really important to do.
Jane, are you coming out? Will you sing backing vocals on the album for me? Oh, she's great. She's so good. Like, I got asked to do this. I got asked to like do this interview for this documentary about Wakefield music, and
Mm.
obviously they cut me out a bit, whatever, because they didn't like what I had to say.
Oh,
Because
really?
first thing I said, well, because first thing I said is, have you spoken to Jane McDonald about this? Because if there's one woman that knows about Wakefield music scene, you need to be asking her. And we go, no, we haven't asked her. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Oh my God. Well, so that's like a
Anyway,
rookie
right.
mistake, isn't it?
I know, rookies. Rookies. Anyway, right. That's enough about Jane McDonald. I've got it out of my system. Sorry. I'm obsessed.
Did this documentary about Wakefield come out?
Yeah.
It did.
Sorry, I've got a bit of a cough on
No, no, you're right.
from all that plain logo. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's come out, but I'm not in it because I think my gob's too big. We couldn't get it in frame. So
Oh, not even a little snippet there. I can't believe that.
do you know
Jeez.
what? I haven't
It's
seen it. I
no,
haven't
no,
seen
no,
it. I don't
no.
know, but I don't think anyone's missing out anyway. So Anyway, moving on.
Tell us how. Tell me how you approach like collaborations and what with other musicians on the record playing live or whatever, and what that kind of gives you.
um, I don't really know how to answer that question because I'm not, well, or so I've been told or whatever, that I'm not a particularly agreeable person, and I don't think diplomacy is really my strong point.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. Like, I mean, I think, like I said earlier, I mean, I've been really lucky to collaborate with a lot of really, really talented people on this album and on the artwork and videos, and I
Mm,
just think that I would like to think that it comes from mutual trust and respect,
yeah.
um, for what we all bring to the table, and beyond that, I'm not really sure. It's just the energy in it. It's like,
Mm,
and I don't know. I don't like to do again. I don't like that analysis paralysis thing. I think sometimes when you think about it too much, you can sort of kill it when you
yeah.
get
If
out
you
of
if you
date.
do, yeah. I guess I was
But
just
but yeah. No, I mean, I love collaborating with people. It's
yeah.
something I haven't done enough of over the years,
Mm,
for one reason or another. But it's something that I've really embraced on this album.
yeah.
I
Because
mean,
obviously
when
you got. Sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say that you got Steven to do the intro to the first single,
yeah, that's right.
which
Yeah,
was great as well. I love that song. It's great.
thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, Steve Ignorant's cool as fuck. I did some gigs with him years ago. Like we did some
Mm,
in UK and in Finland, and
mm,
yeah, he's just cool. He's just cool, and he's all about supporting new artists. He's not got
yeah.
like big ego on him. Like he really cares about music, and I think that's the thing. Like if you really care about um what it is that you do, then you will support the next generation that are coming through.
Yeah.
Not you know,
Well, it's an interesting. Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting
yeah,
one, isn't it? About kind of like supporting new artists and not being afraid to kind of let go of whatever position you kind of had, and just being
yeah,
very kind of like generous
yeah,
about
yeah,
that. Okay, well, I'm still doing my thing, but there are other people that are coming up now that are that have got the talent that need to be seen.
yeah, exactly. And I think, yeah, I mean, how can I put this? I'm trying to put it in a polite way, but I can't, so fuck it. But it's like, it's like, um some people might be surprised that Beauty After Bruises is like a pop album or whatever.
Mm,
But what they don't necessarily realize is that, like, I've always just tried to write songs that I want to hear anyway. I
yeah,
I was brought up on groups like the Bee Gees and Queen and ABBA and ELO, and
yeah,
the thing that I love the most about pop music is that there's no stage big enough for it.
yeah,
So for me, it's never mattered to me where I sing my songs or even who hears me, as long as people are welcome. And from the start, that's been my philosophy. So some people might think, oh well, she's selling out, or she's taking a big risk by not doing a punk record. It's like, why the fuck would I want to do a punk record?
yeah,
Like, I'm not going to carry that shit around for the rest of my life. It's
yeah,
like, imagine the horror of living in this perpetual twilight zone from before I was even born, and
mm,
like just not living in the now and continually escaping from now until one day that I'm so fucking obsolete, I have nothing left to rail against but my own failure. And then there's some other young upstart that's calling me an embarrassing sad old cunt, as they should, you know, like that. They should, they should, you know. So, you know, to me, like, God, hell is just like life drying up like that. So I'm just trying to keep my own wheel spinning.
Well, so I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of kind of exciting new ways to create music, new sounds that are being made, and it's given you a lot of much more kind of like ability to cross things over and just to kind of like put things together and see how it turns out. And it's like there's only like one band who never should do that, and that was the Ramones or AC/DC maybe. But do you know what I mean? It's like there's some really exciting stuff that you can get from just bringing different things in and trying it and seeing if it works. You know?
Yeah. I love that cross pollination of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, I actually, I used to mix with musicians all the time, but I don't now. I can't stand to hang around with anybody who takes themselves so seriously that they think they can tell me who to vote for. And I also don't trust anybody who don't like comedy. So, yeah, it's as simple as that. So I love that cross pollination between different art forms and different mediums. I think it's absolutely wonderful. And before lockdown, I had this idea about crossing punk with grime, punk and grime and hip hop, because for me it's got the same heart and soul and the same message and the same DIY approach, you know. So it's like, fuck it, why not bring two cultures and together, you know, like what the Specials did. And
absolutely,
but I don't think I mean, I loved it. I was so excited about it, but I think at the time it didn't really toe the party line, whoever the fuck the party are, self-appointed authorities or whatever, and I got into a lot of trouble for it. But now you see it all the time: grime punk, new punk, hip hop punk. It's fucking brilliant. I absolutely love it.
I just don't understand why. I just don't understand why you could get in trouble over that. I mean, if you think back to like the, like late 80s, when there was that sort of crossover between, kind of like hip hop and thrash, the Anthraxes and Run DMCs and Public Enemy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that time, I was just like so excited about that. I was just like, wow, this is just brilliant. This is just brilliant. And this idea of genres, that I think limit things in our mind. But these things just kind of crossing over and creating something that's just like, whoa, what is that? Brilliant.
Yeah. I love it. I'm all for it.
I remember just before we started, we were just sort of talking about Adamski. He did something back in, I think, about 2010, which was like this kind of like electronic sort of waltz. And him, like by his own sort of admission, went from doing that, the sort of killer through to, being completely sort of experimental, and just sort of trying these sort of different music forms. And it didn't sell, but fucking, gave him something, really exciting to play around with.
Yeah.
I just love that. Yeah. And he's doing like a kind of like what's he call it? Like his stage name is Sonny Erickson. It's like a electro psychobilly. Stuff. It's just brilliant. It's mad.
Yeah. I'm always interested to hear about the way that other people write songs and how they come up with songs. Because my experience, I don't know if anybody else has this, but like for me, it's like waiting for a bus to turn up and then 3 buses turn up at once. And then when I get on board, it's like this non-stop Venga bus ride to Beijing, and I'm like totally destroyed by the end of it. Like the Girl in the Mirror riff, that came to me when I was in the kitchen making dinner.
Wow, and it's just so good, that as well.
Thank you. But thank you. it's like when it came out, I remember it gave me goosebumps, and I thought,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah,
that's probably a sign that I'm onto something good. So,
yeah,
so
yeah.
like I just follow the feeling, and just thinking back to what you said about the kind of liberation of stuff, it's like I used to be such a perfectionist, and I was
Mm,
like this perpetual self-motion machine of misrepresentation. But I think that lockdown changed all that, and it changed a lot
mm,
of things for a lot of people.
mm,
And for me, I kind of just went, fuck it. I
yeah,
don't fit into this tiny little box. I don't want to make music that's a space for the best glossy version of myself. And I'm going to honor those parts of myself that I've looked away from, and all the ugly, imperfect, shadowy shitness,
yeah.
and so yeah, I suppose
It's
it is liberating.
yeah, it's kind of. I think it's kind of empowering when you sort of when you leave that behind,
Mm,
or at least it's not dominating you so much that you get almost like kind of paralyzed by wanting things to be perfect, and checking things, blah blah blah, and that kind of stuff. When you can kind of
yeah, yeah. I mean, and also it's like thinking about what the conversation we just had about the generations that come before us as well.
mm,
It's like, and I was just thinking about that and applying it to my own personal experience because I mean, where I was at before lockdown, it's like, how can I put it? It's like I think when you're an adult, when you become an adult, you need to get your shit together as much as you can before you have your own kids, if that
mm,
makes sense.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
so that your own kids don't need to heal from having you as their parent.
yeah,
Now,
great, yeah,
I used to feel like it used to it were difficult
mm,
sometimes. I mean, it was a fuel, but it was difficult at the same time. And I used to feel like such an outsider, and
mm,
and I experienced all kinds of trauma and felt maligned in all kinds of ways because of of what of how much my parents didn't have their shit together.
mm,
and
yeah,
um
yeah,
and because of that, I ended up being so like self-focused that at times I overlooked other people because I was so eager to be heard and to make an
yeah.
impression,
I get
and
that.
share my
Yeah,
own thoughts. But it didn't really work out very well. But it's something that I do think about a lot, about about history and
yeah,
the human connection between the generations, and really, I can really only say, like, I just think if there's one thing I've taken from lockdown, it's just that life's too short. Like,
mm,
and applying that to my own creative process as well, because when you're young, well, not when you're young, I would say for me, like before lockdown, it's like, and I see this in a lot of in the new generation that's coming up, and it's like when you're young and you're growing up, all you care about is what you perceive to be right.
yeah,
But then as you get older and you start growing down, all you care about is being healthy and happy.
yeah.
So,
Agree.
and part of life and emotional intelligence and growth, I think, is realizing that history is a wheel
Mm,
and it just keeps on spinning and spinning and spinning, and
totally right. Yeah, yeah.
you just got to rise up on them spokes and keep on spinning. But
I remember
yeah,
like talking to this how long ago was it? Must have been like five, 6 years ago, maybe even longer than that. She's a pediatrician in the
yeah,
States, and she was massively into kind of like emotional intelligence and
yeah,
the things that people called sort of soft skills, which is a
yeah,
ridiculous sort of term because they're probably the
mm,
most important things that we can
mm,
have. But things like kind of like empathy and self-awareness and all that kind of stuff. And
mm,
she was like, she said, and she was on like a big campaign to get these subjects taught at school, like at preschool,
mm,
because it's like the earlier, the longer you leave it, the more chance it's going to the bad habits are going to go to the next generation, and so the cycle kind of keeps
mm,
perpetuating itself. Do you know what I mean? And I still
yeah,
can't believe that some of these things that they aren't taught in school. It's like always like kind of maths and chemistry and stuff like that. But the things that really helpers aren't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, I feel really sorry for kids nowadays. Because they're just getting doped up on Ritalin and Prozac.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
and the future generations of artists and rock and rollers, and it's just, yeah, it really upsets me. I kind of don't want to talk about it, to be honest, because I'll just end up
yeah.
getting like, I'll just end up like crying and having a meltdown on your podcast,
So
even
then,
more than what I am.
so with that nice little segue, should we then
Yeah.
should we talk about what's coming next with the album and any tours and what your kind of plans are for the foreseeable?
Oh God, plans.
Like fuck. I don't know.
Well, what I can tell you is that I don't know if you've noticed or anybody else has noticed, but there's a lot of horses on my social media pages. Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of horses on my social media
yeah,
pages, and what I can tell you is that horses are very symbolic to me, and they do feature in a music video further down the line, but it's and also actually here's an interesting fact is that did you know that the hippocampus in your brain that
Hmm.
is responsible. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a scientist, so don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure it's like responsible for you. It's like where trauma is and where
Yeah,
your nervous system's regulated and stuff. And so the hippocampus is actually shaped like a horse. There's a
yeah.
nerdy fact for
Right.
you, right?
Okay.
Right. So
I feel
anyway,
totally nerded up now.
yeah, yeah. But no, I used to be scared of horses because I would it's really weird. I used to be scared of horses because I was scared of getting trampled.
Yeah.
And then I thought, hang on a minute. I'm sure there's a few people that could say the same about me. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're very misunderstood creatures, aren't they? Like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
me. Yeah. We need patience, safety, trust, and carrots. Love a good
Absolutely.
carrot.
Yes.
But yeah, it's kind of like, you know, this is what they mean to me. And it's like, when you're a broken person, you've kind of got two choices, really, aren't you? You can either hide away in fear
Mm,
and in shame, or you get tough, and sometimes those rough edges can make you feel like that you're a scary person to deal with. So,
mm.
um, but I think, well, feel the fear and do it anyway. So since I've been learning horses, I've been learning a lot about myself.
Yeah,
That's the story of me and my horses. But they're a very important part of the new album and the new songs. And
yeah.
there's actually a song called "Run with Wild Horses" on the album as well. I mean, the last song on the album, um, I think really kind of sums it up to how can I'm trying to think of how to describe it. Hmm, it's kind of like it's like the last song of the album. It's called "Keep on Trying," and I
Mm,
think it pretty much sums it all up for me and where I'm going next,
mm.
which is again that life's short, and we've all got our own truth in our life, and we've all got our plans, but nowadays, well, life just does whatever it wants
Ones
anyway,
you
doesn't
want.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's never what you think it's going to be, so you've kind of just got to buckle up and get out of your way and keep on trying. So who knows what's going to happen? But I think, I'm just going to carry on regardless, just like we all are. And we're just going to keep on trying and we're just going to keep on doing our best. And what I will say is that the weirdest trip of all, I think, has been actually getting into reality. It's
Mm.
uh, it's trippy. The reality is weirder than any drug that I've ever taken before. So
Reality. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's fair play.
Who knows what's going to happen? Who
Yeah.
knows what's going to happen next? I mean, God, we could all be in lockdown again
I
tomorrow for all
know.
we
I
know.
know.
So
Yeah.
we just got to all make the most of it.
It's kind of like you
But I
said
mean,
earlier
yeah,
about kind of
yeah,
like living now, living in your moment now,
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
and doing your
it's
best.
so yeah, yeah. I like I said, I mean, I used to be such a perfectionist. I used to worry about everything all the time, and I
Yeah.
used to be thinking about the future, and
Yeah.
but now I'm just kind of enjoying being in reality and being in the present, and it's really nice. It's really,
Yeah.
really nice. I'm really, I feel like I'm in a really good place at the moment. I'm really enjoying my life, and I'm really
Brilliant.
excited for what's to come, and to be able to share everything that that I've been working on. Yeah, it's nice. It's
It's
nice.
brilliant. Well,
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, Louise,
yeah.
it's brilliant to have you back anyway, and
Oh,
sort of, looking so great and feeling so great about yourself as well. It's really,
Botox.
really positive. I had so much in my ears that my earpiece
Yeah,
popped out.
like there's that bit. Have you ever
Slick.
seen that film? Have you ever seen that film, Shirley Valentine?
Yes.
That's me. I'm Shirley Valentine. Except it's set in 2023, and I'm in Greece, and then I'm having a flashback to when I was at school, and it's going, what was man's greatest invention? And Shirley Valentine stands up and goes, it was the wheel, miss. And except it's me going, Botox, Botox. But yeah, I'm on a Shirley Valentine adventure. That's what I'm doing. It's
That's
wonderful.
what you're doing.
Yeah, and I'm actually half Greek as well, so you never know. I might get even invited on some guy called Costas's boat as well.
I'll tell you what, the parallels are getting scarily real now.
I know.
I can see this happening. I know.
I told you. Reality is weird, everybody.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thanks, Louise. Thanks so much for coming on. It's been a great chat. I really enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Giles. Thanks everybody if anyone's actually got to end and survive this war of the roses, then well done.
Thanks for listening to the show, and I really hope that you enjoyed it and that you'll tune in for the next episode. In the meantime, it would be really awesome if you could rate and review the show, and also share it with any friends who you think might enjoy it.